Today's guest is all too familiar when it comes to pain. She's suffered with debilitating symptoms since her late teenage years and especially has struggled with infertility and her weight. She was initially diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome and then was later diagnosed with endometriosis after a diagnostic laparoscopy. She now dedicates her time advocating for other women online when it comes to endo and PCOS and making sure that she raises awareness around the diagnosis process. Please welcome Laura Potts. Hi, thank you so much for coming on. It's really lovely to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
I have seen your content and what you do on socials for ages now, and I absolutely love what you do.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
no way.
Oh my God, yeah. The videos, the authenticity, how real you are. I can see just from like comments and the community that you've built looks really special because there's definitely quite a loyal base
They are, yeah.
of people that really support you and love you and obviously get a huge amount from what you do and what you say.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that you're here because
thank you.
there's a lot that I want to talk to you about and hear from your story.
Yep.
So I always start with the beginning. Let's go all the way back and kind of walk everyone through what your experience is.
Yep.
Because you have diagnoses of PCOS and endometriosis.
Yep.
But you really started suffering during teenage years.
Yeah, so it was probably like late teens, like early 20s. I definitely think I was struggling before, but I think that was just masked with hormones, growing up, not really knowing what was going on.
Yeah.
And then I went straight from that into university life. So I was that party university kind of person. So I think, again, a lot of it was masked with going out, drinking, not really looking after myself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like the early 20s mark where I was like, okay, I think there's something going on, like this can't be normal, because I was talking to like my friends and stuff that was in the same situation, and I was like, do you get this when you're on your period? And they was like, no, and I was like, I wonder why I do. And then like I started going for tests and stuff, and initially they just kind of said like, it's fine, it's just part of your monthly cycle, it's part of being a woman.
I remember you wrote on the stuff that you sent over to me, you literally put, it's just a period, and I was like, well, perfect, she's the exact guest that we need. So when you talk about, when you ask your friend what's normal or do you experience this, so what were you experiencing like late teenage uni kind of time?
So when I would have a period, so one, they was very irregular, but when I would have one, they'd be very painful. So I mean, like crippling, bending over in pain, unable to do things. I'd always be sick. I'd always be feeling like fatigued, like I was going to like pass out. And it just felt like I was losing just like, I don't know, like everything inside of me every month. Like it just felt horrendous. So I was just like, I don't know what this is, but I just know it's not normal.
Yeah.
And so obviously that's when I started.
Were you on contraception at any point?
So I was on contraception. I was on the implant for... I think I got the implant when I was 18, and I think I had it out when I was like 21. And then I dibbled like in the pill for like a couple of months, but one, I just couldn't remember to take it, and two, every time I was taking it, like it didn't really help my periods. I felt like contraception itself kind of like just made my mental health a little bit worse. So then I just decided to stop taking it altogether, really.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to understand like my body and my hormones, and I was like, I don't know whether contraception is masking stuff or, so I couldn't really tell what was going on, so I just stopped taking it, really.
And that's really interesting what you say about when you tried the pill, obviously for a shorter amount of time, but I had the same thing, because obviously you might, when you talk about your diagnosis journey, but when I was in the midst of like gynae and then giving medications and stuff, they gave me a few things to try, and it was really weird. I just became so paranoid, and I felt almost like a monster version of myself. For your mental health, what did that look like for you when you were trying things?
Yeah, so my mental health has always been up and down anyway. Like I'm quite open about that. It's always been something I've struggled with. But I definitely think contraception and then managing the periods, I do think that made it worse, because I always felt like I was, to be fair, similar to you, like an angrier version of myself on contraception.
Yeah.
And for me, I had to kind of like, it was like process of elimination. I was trying to figure out what was actually causing it and what was making me feel the way I was feeling and why I was so turbulent all the time.
Yeah.
So I just decided to stop contraception, which obviously doctors don't necessarily like you doing that sometimes. They're like, oh, we advise this, we advise that. But for me, I was at the start of the journey by going, I need to know what's wrong with me now. So I'm just going to do what I need to do to find that out. So
And that's really a brave step, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot to kind of have that moment of acknowledgement, like when you're talking to uni friends and be like, is this normal? Are other people having this? And then from taking that and actually being like, I'm actually going to ask that question of, is there something wrong?
Mm-hmm.
That's like pretty terrifying to do
Yeah.
that.
Because you do think, am I just being dramatic?
Mm.
Is it just in my head? And I go through that now. I've got a diagnosis and I still go through that now because I think that's just I do think that's quite common for women with endometriosis and anyone struggles with it. I think we have been gaslighted by many people, but then we gaslight ourselves as well.
Yes.
I definitely do. Like sometimes I'm sitting there thinking, is this really endo or is it just something else? Even though I know it is, but I'll still convince myself, or maybe it's something else.
Yeah.
So,
or it's like when you can get almost like new symptoms with endo that are a constant surprise, and you're like, oh great, year 5, what's new now? Like, let's throw a new thing out there. But I remember when I first started getting like the kind of like electric shock pain in like legs and things and joints, I hadn't had that like at the start, and you sit there and you're like, am I losing my mind? Like, is this in my head? Like, have I actually just felt my legs do that? And then it's like, is it endo? But no one's ever talked to me about the fact that this could be endo. So maybe then it's like, oh my God, have I got like a third condition? And then you're like, you kind of go in circles, don't you?
Yeah, definitely.
So those potentially, like, talking about gaslighting conversations and that whole world.
Yeah.
So when you took the step to start being like, what's going on? Is there something wrong? How did that go for you? Because also we have to start a GP, and then where did it go from there?
So I saw a range of different doctors to start with. So originally I was going because I was struggling with my weight as well. So I've always been like a bigger girl. I've always struggled with my weight in that sense.
Yeah.
And then it was during like lockdown, and I was gaining weight really quickly, and I was struggling to lose it. So having my periods was really irregular. I couldn't track them. No idea what was going on. When I would have them, I'd be feeling like the world was ending because it was that painful. Like I was getting really bad pelvic pain, leg pain, bloating, and I was just like, something's wrong. So I booked an initial appointment, and they was just like, right, we'll do some blood tests because I hadn't any blood tests in a while, and we'll just do some initial tests and we see what we find and stuff. And honestly, I was back and forth for months seeing various different doctors. I think I had multiple urine samples, multiple scans, blood tests, everything.
Wow. And all during COVID time as well.
So this was we was coming out of COVID. And as everything was like lifting towards like the end of the year, I was getting like rogue appointments at the hospital, but it was still like we all had to wear our masks and things like that. But then again, because of COVID, I think everything was pushed back. So appointments and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't really have any answers at any stage in that point, to be honest. And then the following year, I got diagnosed with polycystic ovary syndrome, and they basically was just like, if you lose like so much weight, this will make it better. That's what you're experiencing. This is what's wrong with you, right? So I was just like, cool. They put me on metformin.
And that is?
So metformin, it's basically a tablet that can be prescribed to like type 2 diabetics. And it's basically something to manage your insulin. No doctor, so don't hold me to that. But that's what they've told me. So that's what I take.
Because there's a lot of conversation now, isn't there, between insulin resistance and PCOS. There's a huge correlation and kind of conversation around that now.
So I have insulin resistant PCOS, which is why I take the metformin. And they essentially just threw metformin at me day one. Didn't tell me anything about it. Didn't tell me any side effects. And just says you need to go and lose weight.
And is this the GP that diagnosed you with PCOS?
Yes. Yeah. And there was just like, you need to lose weight. Once you lose the weight, it'll be fine. So obviously I went away. I started TikToking PCOS, and it was like a rabbit hole. Supplements, things you should do, things you shouldn't do. And I was like, oh my God, this is just too much.
I've like, even after studying, and obviously you've got your expertise and lived experience, and even after you kind of become someone that you want to learn about this world, I still go onto TikTok now, and I'm like, some of the videos I watch, and I'm like, logically, I know that's not true, or I know that's really misleading, but you just are like, oh, really?
I know.
And it's mind blowing, isn't it?
And it was just like, people were saying, like, my doctor said, like, I could speak to like a nutritionist or something that can help me with all this. So I was speaking to them about supplements, and they was kind of saying, you can take like things like inositol, because obviously at this point we're struggling with fertility and stuff as well. So they were saying like there's a few things you can take, like inositol, folic acid, vitamin D, all that kind of stuff. So I was just Googling all these supplements, right? And then it just got silly, because I just think you can take a supplement for everything. So I was like, you need to kind of like fine tune it to like what works for you and what you need to do. This is why I always say to, you know, the girls that follow me and stuff, I always say, like, don't listen to everything people say online. You know, doing your own research is so important, but you have to base it off what you need in your life, because what will work for you won't work for me and vice versa. So, and although, you know, doctors can be quite hard in terms of fobbing you off, you know, they are the people you should be asking for medical advice at the end of the day in terms of medication and stuff. So
that conversation with the GP when they diagnosed your PCOS, but obviously it sounds like they just kind of went like PCOS, weight, and that was just the only that was the only conversation.
That was it.
I'd love to know if you have to tell me how that felt. How does that affect you? Because like you said, you've been very honest and said that weight is something you've struggled with for probably years before that. So I imagine that was quite emotional, quite potentially difficult, that conversation.
Yeah, so when I got diagnosed, like I remember going home, and I basically just cried because I didn't know I didn't even know what PCOS was. Like,
I didn't even know. It to you.
No, and then I was given this new medication I didn't know nothing about. And all of a sudden, it was just kind of like, I've gone from them telling me there's nothing wrong with me to now having this condition. But then I was still having other things going on, like severe pain. And I was sitting there thinking, I know PCOS, a lot of women with PCOS, they can experience like abdominal pain and stuff like that. But this pain was severe. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I just think there's something else wrong. So I was getting so emotional because I was just like, it's taken me this long to get this diagnosis and answers for this.
Yeah.
How long is it going to take me to get more? Or is there actually nothing wrong with me? Maybe it is just this. So I was like that for months, and I was still struggling to lose weight, you know, and I've tried everything in terms of losing weight, like every diet you can imagine. But as you'll know, like, women with PCOS, the hormones are so different. It's not as easy as doing a crash diet and intense workout, because that's the opposite what women with PCOS should be doing.
Absolutely.
But obviously at that time, I didn't know that.
No.
So everything I know about the condition now, I've taught myself. And then I've spoke to like professionals online or nutritionists or specialists. And but that never came from like the NHS or my GP surgery. So.
But I mean, I'd love to know what you think about this. But for me, when I hear that, that feels like that like the system has failed you.
100%,
because I completely understand, and when I've spoken to GPs, I completely understand that GPs cannot be nutritionists. No. Like, it comes into their studying on a very small scale. They touch on it very lightly, but they're not nutritionists. No. Fine. They have so much they need to know and so much they need to do. They can't be two different roles. But so you don't expect that from them, except maybe a referral or maybe, kind of guiding someone to maybe an expertise. But to give someone a diagnosis and not even explain what the condition is or how the condition even operates or whatever, we don't know everything about PCOS in terms of like NHS guidelines and stuff. But what they do know, they should at least be sharing with you so you have some understanding. You can't just slap a label on someone and be like, okay, see you later, like off you go.
But I do think though, again, like especially from what I've noticed with GPs with endometriosis and stuff, I do think they do have limited knowledge to some extent as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've definitely watched a doctor Google PCOS symptoms in front of me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I sit there sometimes and I go, when I'm thinking about booking another GP appointment, I'm like, is this even worth it? Because I already know how this is going to go. So this is why now I always push to see like an endometriosis specialist, and I'll fight to see them because they are so much more skilled in that area. Like, it doesn't mean like the GP is not skilled, because they are, but that's the idea of a general practitioner. It's a general overview of many things.
Exactly.
You know,
it's a little bit about a lot, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
They could see someone with literally anything going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so true. So in terms of, did all your own research.
Yeah.
And you mentioned infertility, because obviously, it's kind of weight and infertility seem to be like those two buzzwords that women constantly get thrown at them or hear when they think about PCOS. So for you and infertility, is that something that you had already been trying in terms of to start a family and things, and then you had your diagnosis, or has it come after that?
So it's kind of come after that, really. So I knew for a while that I was always thinking, I was like, I don't know whether like there's something wrong here because I didn't really know what was going on. And then when I got into a relationship with my partner now, this was when I was coming off the implant and starting the pill.
Okay.
And I turned around to him and I said, I don't want to take contraception anymore. So, you know, we're just going to need to try something else, you know, wear condoms, whatever. But we just need to try something else. And then, you know, we kind of had a conversation and we was like, but if we did get pregnant, we wouldn't be mad about it. We wouldn't be sad about it.
Yeah.
So let's just see what happens. And then obviously we've been together 5 years now.
Okay.
And then obviously like that's never happened. Like,
yes.
And it's one of those things where they won't do anything for that because of my weight. So I've had a few fertility referrals rejected because of my weight.
Really?
And the issue is, what I find quite funny is obviously on the NHS they won't do it because of my BMI.
Okay.
But if I pay private, they would.
Really?
So
that's interesting.
But then private, as you can imagine, it's extortionate. So for me, it's kind of like, you know, I'm 30 next year. My partner's 35. I think he is this year. He'll kill me for that. No, he's 34 this year. You know, and we're still none the wiser of where we're going to be at. We've had multiple tests, multiple investigations. We've gone through different stages of treatments, private appointments, and we are just no closer to anything because the weight's a barrier, which I know. And, you know, I've lost 4 stone altogether.
Amazing.
Since I started.
Wow.
Which I think, again, for me, and especially like the girls in the community, they're like, that's massive because
Absolutely.
we know how hard it is to lose that weight.
Yeah.
But then when you go to the doctors, they're like, oh, you've still got a little bit more to lose. And I'm like, can you just give me a moment? Like, can I just I just celebrate that I've lost some weight, please?
That is an achievement.
Yeah.
It's an achievement for anyone to lose weight because it has to be a holistic kind of approach to that. It's not as simple as don't eat this food group, go on this extreme diet, just juice. Like, I mean, I don't want anyone to do any of those because they're not sustainable long term. But it's not as simple as that. It needs to be holistic, and you so deserve your moment. Like that is phenomenal, especially with all the additional things you have going on in your life.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. Like all this time, so obviously I got diagnosed with endo in 2023.
Okay,
but I got diagnosed in PCOS. Got diagnosed in 2021, I think, for PCOS, and then over the course of 2 years, I was like back and forth again with multiple doctors, and I was like, there is something else going on. And I was like, we don't think there is, we just think it's this. And then I was tested for like all different kinds of things, like Crohn's disease. Wow. I was doing 24-hour urine samples, and then some of them was getting lost, so I had to do them again. And blood tests was being mislabeled, and I was just getting so frustrated. I was just like, what is happening? What is going on? And I got referred into gynecology. And I saw this gynecologist, and she was really nice, and she was just like, right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do multiple tests. And if you lose so much weight, I'll put you on a list for a lap surgery.
Okay.
So they told me I had to lose, I can't remember how much it was now. I basically had to make sure my BMI was under 40.
Okay.
And at the time it was 40. So I basically got it down to 39, and then they did surgery. And even before the surgery, you know, I'm absolutely adamant they was all thinking, no, like, this is not what she thinks it is. And even on the day, I remember being in my gown, waiting to go down, and I was sitting there going, what about if this is in my head? Like, how embarrassing is this going to be? Do you know what I mean? I was sitting there thinking, am I putting myself through this for no reason?
I can totally relate to that. Every surgery I've had, even after the diagnosis of stage 4, and I've had like 5-hour plus major surgery.
Yeah.
But even after that, and the one that I had to have after that a few years later, even then I sat there and had exactly the same thought of, am I wasting everyone's time? Yeah. Are they going to be really mad at me? Are they going to think that I'm just using up valuable resources and I'm really selfish and I'm this, that, and the other? And they're horrible things to think about yourself, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I remember being really worried about it. And again, I went into a laparoscopy not really knowing what a laparoscopy was. Like, I was completely naive to many things during that process, which is why I was angry when I was coming out of this process. And this is why, again, I started advocating and I started helping people with what questions you need to ask your surgeon or what things you should write down in appointments, because And I speak from experience, because I was just going in there and trusting completely
Mm-hmm.
what they were doing, thinking because they're the professionals, they know what they're doing.
That's so natural, right? I mean, like, we're taught that. Like, it's the
Yeah.
whole, like, authority child or parent-child complex of
Yep.
they're in charge, they're senior, they're the authority, and
Yep.
we get taught, whatever stage of life you're at, whether
Mhm.
it's teacher, parent, or whatever, you trust them.
Yep.
They know what they're doing.
Mhm.
Don't challenge them. Don't question
Yeah.
them. Don't kind of go in kind of any kind of combat with them. Just kind of follow their lead and do what you're told.
And that's what I did. I did exactly that. And I remember before the surgery, I was going on TikTok and I was seeing a couple of things and I was like, oh, okay. But there wasn't a lot, you know. There was not a lot in terms of explanations and even silly things like what to pack for your laparoscopy. I'm thinking, what the hell do I put in my bag? Like, you know, and it was things like that where I noticed, I was like, right, something needs to happen here. And I was like, if whatever happens, I'm just going to do something, you know, whether or not I got diagnosed, I still think I would try and do something or whatever. But I remember I was diagnosed, and before then I'd post like silly little trends on TikTok. I was never really never really did anything. I had no idea how to edit a video. Like, no, I had no idea. And I remember I had the surgery, and then the next day I posted like a video of like, come with me from my laparoscopy, and I was so nervous. And even in the video, I'm like, please be kind, because I was just so like, I was like, I can't believe I'm showing the world this, because at this point, no one really knew anything that was going on. So I was like, can't believe this.
In your life, like people in your life?
Yeah, so like very close friends and family knew, but I was always very private with a lot of other things. So it was a big step, but I remember posting it, and then it kind of just got lots of traction, and people was asking questions like, what do you pack? What do you ask your surgeon? Did you have a blood test before? And I was sitting there going, oh my God, like, I was like, I can't believe there's this many women in the same position as me. And I was like, we just need to do something. I was like, we just need to do something. So that from then I just carried on. No real plan, no idea what I was doing, but I just was like, I'm just gonna, whatever I learn, I'm just gonna share it.
Yes.
And that's kind of just what I did. So
living in agonizing pain is one of the hardest parts of living with endometriosis. Every single morning, I would wake up with stabbing, twisting, throbbing pain all over my entire body. And the only way I could survive was by taking painkillers all day, every day. If you told me over 10 years ago that natural pain relief would work better than drugs, I'd have thought you were crazy. But then I found BU's pain relief patches. I've had the pleasure of working with the sibling co-founder, Hemang and crew, and I trust them. I trust them to do right by me. I trust them to do right by you. I trust them to do right by all of us. So, if your endometriosis pain is out of control or your periods are ruining your social life, then use discount Alexandra 10 for 10% off BU's products. Yes, you did hear me correctly. That is 10% across all their products. Go and have a look. What's the harm? You can also head to the show's description notes for all the information and all the clickable links. So that laparoscopy happened then. You came out. What happened when you came out of surgery?
So again, this is quite different, I think, for a lot of people. So when I came out of surgery, I woke up in recovery, obviously like really like disorientated. And the person who did my surgery came over to me and was just like, hi Laura, like everything was okay. We did find endometriosis. And she was chatting to me about something else, but I can't remember for the life of me what it was now because I was just so out of it. But she said we found endo, and I remember crying. But I was still half asleep, and I was still like so high as a kite, and I thought I could see my cat in the recovery room and everything. Wow. Honestly, and I remember
the combination of morphine and anaesthetic,
and then emotions,
wonders, and emotions.
Oh God, yeah. So then I fell asleep and must have fell back to sleep, and I think I woke up like 4 hours later, and I was like, "Where am I? What is happening?" And then they came around to talk to me, and they was just like, "Yes, we found endometriosis." But that was it. They didn't really tell me anything else. So at this point, I didn't know how they found it, what they did, if they removed it. I didn't know anything. But at this point, I didn't really know what to ask. So I generally was just like, and at this stage of my journey, I didn't know that it can come back. So I didn't know.
Oh, wow.
So at this point, I remember like Googling and looking at stuff, and I was seeing all these videos of going, endometriosis has come back, and I was sitting there going, what? this can grow back.
Oh my God.
And I didn't know. And
That
this
must have
is
been
the
such a
thing.
shock.
Like, and this is why now I'm just so strong with what I say in terms of like, please go in there preparing yourself, because that
Yeah.
feeling of me lying in that recovery bed thinking, I don't think this is over,
Yeah.
you know. And I knew nobody really. Like my auntie was diagnosed with endometriosis, but she was diagnosed like years and years and years ago when things was very not
Okay.
advanced.
Yes.
And they kind of did that whole have a hysterectomy, it will cure it.
Yes.
And then obviously she had the hysterectomy. It
And
didn't.
came back.
So that's as much as I knew, but I didn't know much because it was
Yeah.
never really spoke about too much.
So in that recovery conversation,
Yeah.
whether it was before or after you woke up, no one kind of said to you, there's 3 types of endo. We
Oh, God,
found
no.
XYZ.
No.
It's this stage.
No.
Excisional ablation. There was
No.
like no conversation
Nothing.
at all.
Nothing.
Oh my word.
And that didn't happen until my post-op appointment.
Right. Okay.
So it happened in my post-op appointment, which was, I think, 6 weeks later. Again, that's so different. Like I speak to some people and their post-op appointment's like 8 months away or something. I'm thinking, what's the point then? Like, how is that even a post-op appointment?
8 months. That's not a
Honestly,
thing.
some of the girls on TikTok, they come in my lives, right, and they'll say like, when's your post-op appointment? Like, we don't know, we've not been given one. And they'll be given one like 3 months later. And I'm like, what is the point in that then? Do you know what I mean? Because that's not post-op anymore, is it? That's
No.
essentially just like another appointment.
I mean, a follow-up consultation, fantastic. Like 3 months, 6 months, a year, absolutely, because we need women to be actually staying in the system and not just dismissed out of it. But post-op is like, we're still within the range of you've had the operation and we need to see how your wound's doing and how you're recovering and if there's any infection and, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah. So I had my post-op 6 weeks later, but before that, again, because I was so naive and I was not really knowing what I was doing, I didn't know. So obviously after my surgery, I was in pain.
Of course.
But I wasn't keeping, like, I was putting just heat on my wounds, which obviously meant then they got infected.
Yes.
So then I had this raging infection I had to go and get some antibiotics for. And to this day, this infection is not cleared. Like, I still have to have, like, topical cream, antibiotics, all this kind of stuff. I had my surgery 2 years ago and I still have a belly button infection recurring. I actually went on Friday and they've given me some topical cream now to try. But again, it's like little things like this. Maybe if I don't know, someone would have warned me not to do that. I know it might sound obvious to people, don't put heat on wounds, but to me in that time, I was lying in bed and I'm like, I'm in agony. So if I'm going to put 3 hot water bottles on my stomach, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But no one told me.
That doesn't sound stupid at all, though, because I think about, like, when I've been in hospital and stuff, like, I have had that a bit. I don't know whether maybe I'm lucky, but that makes me quite sad if that is luck, really. But like when you're discharging a patient after they've had surgery and you have to give them the prescriptions and sign the discharge forms and all the rest of it, there should be at least a nurse or a doctor saying, by the way, this is how you care for your wounds. If you see X, Y, and Z, you need to go and see a doctor because that could be a sign of infection. This is how to clean them or change them. There was nothing. No one said anything to you.
So there was one nurse who, to be fair, I don't know if she was a nurse, I can't remember exactly, but she was so lovely. And she came in and she got me a hot chocolate and she gave me like this little Lindor chocolate and she was really nice. And she was honestly like the nicest person in there.
Yeah.
And she was the one that did my discharge papers. And then the doctor came in to give me some meds and he gave me a letter for work. But they literally just said to me, just read this booklet if you've got any problems and then call the number.
Okay.
But at that time, I'm like, okay, cool, no worries, you know, because why would I ask? Because I didn't know anything then. Whereas now, you know, the next time I'm having a surgery, I'm gonna be there with a full binder of questions like, what's this, what's this, what's this. But at that point, I just didn't know. And again, I was angry after my post-op appointment because I felt like I had been stupid. Like I was like, I feel really stupid. I was like, I should know better. I should have known better. But then everyone I was speaking to was just like, well, why would you know? Like, how would you know that?
We don't know what we don't know, right?
Exactly.
You'd never gone into hospital to get cut open before. It's not exactly like that was a kind of a experience that you'd had before, you know? So what did they tell you in that post-op then about your endo?
So the post-op was horrendous. So I took my partner with me.
Okay.
And I took him with me for a reason because up until that point, I was always going home to him and telling him what had happened in my appointments. And he was always like, what? Like, why would they say that? Or that's not helpful. So I was like, I'm going to take him with me this time just so he can see what it's like in these appointments sometimes. And the whole appointment was surrounded around my weight, and it was just like,
Your post-op appointment?
my post-op appointment. And she was basically like, she showed me where the endometriosis was. She just said, this is where the endometriosis is. And then she said, obviously, it was ablation. And again, I didn't know what that meant really. So I didn't really ask too many questions. And she literally said to me, you need to lose weight or you have the coil. That's your two options. That is quite literally all she said. My boyfriend sat there, and I at this point I get upset, so I'm a bit teary.
Of course.
And he's like, is there nothing else you can do? Like, what do you mean? Like, that's her only options. And I said, what about like the fertility struggles? What are we going to do? And she was just like, well, you just need to lose weight. You know, there's other things you could consider, like bariatric surgery. And I literally looked at him and I was like, what is going on? And from that appointment then, it was like the most deflated I'd ever felt, because I almost felt like, what was the point?
Yeah.
What was the point? Like, why did I even have the surgery in the first place?
You went through all that.
Yeah.
Mentally, emotionally, physically. And this woman was a gynecologist?
Yeah, so she wasn't a specialist.
Right.
But obviously at that time, I don't think I really knew the difference.
No, but actually, that is not like... I'm all for like making sure that women advocate for themselves.
Yeah.
I know you do a lot of work with that. I'm also really passionate about that.
Yeah.
How we need to educate and empower ourselves. Absolutely 100%. But I'm sorry, that woman is a gynecologist, and professionally she should know that if you have found endometriosis, that is now out of your remit of expertise. No disrespect, you need to refer that patient to an endometriosis specialist, or at least an endometriosis clinic. That is her professional responsibility.
So they discharged me after that appointment.
Oh my God.
And they told me to lose weight, and that was the end of the appointment, right? So I was just discharged, had no idea what I was doing, and I was like, right, I just now need to try and navigate living with this condition that I hardly know anything about. And then, so that's what I did. I just went full blown into research. And that's when I was discovering like endometriosis specialist and what they can do and all this blah, blah, blah. So I was like, right. And then by the October, my pain had come back, but tenfold. Like, severe. I was having bowel problems, sciatica pain. I've now developed bladder problems, so they think it's in my bladder. So, and I was really angry because then I was finding things out. So I had like the letter, and it was like ablation surgery, and I was sitting there going, well, why wouldn't they have excised it? Because again, I found out what that meant, and I was like, why wouldn't they have done that? And then obviously people was telling me like, when you have ablation surgery, it can grow back quicker and it can grow back worse. So I was like, oh, for God's sake. And again, I was kicking myself because I was like, why didn't I know this? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I then went back to my GP and asked if I could be referred to a specialist. They said no to start with. And then I just basically was just going every other week with pain. I said, I'm in pain. You need to do something. They went through, they said, we could refer you to pain management, but it's a really long waiting list. So let's just try you on painkillers. So I was literally on everything, codeine, I can't remember what the other's called. I'm on tramadol now, and then like amitriptyline and all this kind of stuff, going through all that. And then I asked if I could have more tests, like an MRI. The MRI, the doctor said to me it came back clear. However, I copied and pasted the results into ChatGPT.
Okay.
And it said something about like tethering on like the sigmoid colon or something.
Okay.
So I pasted that into Google, and it literally came up like endometriosis, bowel endometriosis. So I said,
what?
Is there any chance I could speak to a specialist about this MRI and get a second opinion?
Yeah.
So I did. I got referred to a specialist. Again, really long time that took. Really long time. The specialist I spoke to was probably one of the best doctors I've ever met. She was really nice.
Okay.
And she did say from that MRI, she went, it could indicate there is something there. So we would do another surgery based on that, and because you had ablation and not excision. So I was then sitting there, well, can you imagine if I just listened to what that doctor said?
I was about to say, Laura, like, honestly, I mean, genuinely, I mean this, you are phenomenal. The bravery and the courage it must have taken for you to go through all of that, be discharged from that gynae, to then take yourself back into that whole world, which is so incredibly difficult emotionally, mentally, everything. And to say, I want to be referred to a specialist. Like, honestly, I can't tell you how much respect I have for you. That's just phenomenal that you did that. But imagine the thousands of women that very understandably might even be listening to this right now that have gone, I haven't done that. And I get it. I mean, no one is
No,
blaming you. No one
no,
is telling you should or shouldn't. I totally get it.
yeah,
But your story is one to listen to then in that
yeah.
instance.
And the thing is as well, like, for me, it was one of those where I was that person that was looking for answers from somewhere. So I was looking on TikTok, I
Yeah.
was looking on Google, I was looking everywhere. And I know we say sometimes the information online is not always the best and you need to be careful what you take in and follow. However, when you see somebody in the same position as you, it's so powerful. And I was documenting everything, every appointment. Like my endometriosis playlist on TikTok, I think it's got 250 videos because I was just documenting every
Wow.
appointment. And then I was having people message me go, how could I word this differently in appointments? So I was helping them with that. And I was just saying to them, I don't know whether this is going to work, girls, but I don't know, try it and see what
Yeah.
happens. And then they'd message me and go, it worked. And I was like, oh, thank
Oh,
God.
wow.
And that doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. But for me, I was just like, I definitely found banging on those doors and banging on those drums did work eventually for me.
Yeah.
It was exhausting and we should
Yes.
not have to do that.
No.
But that was the only way I got anything done. And that was just that stage of it. I'm still very much on that journey. And
Yeah.
I've seen that specialist once. They said to me that they would call me back within 6 months to see if I'd lost weight.
Okay.
And then they'd be able to do surgery. But that was nearly 18 months ago now.
Have they called you?
No, I've called the specialist and she said there's like a backlog.
Oh, God.
But I went to my GP on Friday because obviously I've been having issues like recurring UTIs and kidney infections and belly button infections and all this kind of stuff. So I didn't know whether that was to do with my endo, whether it was like cystitis, or I didn't know what it was really. So I was just going back and forth. I've had like 5 or 6 different courses of antibiotics in the last few months and nothing was clearing it. So I was like, I don't know what it is. So my GP said that she thinks it's to do with my endo. She said it's either bladder endometriosis, Bell's, something. So she says you need to see a specialist. And I said to her, I know, I'm on the waiting list to see her, but so is everyone. So I said, I don't really know what else I can do. So she wrote an expedited letter the other day.
Okay.
And I read the letter and it was amazing, to be honest. Like I made a video about it yesterday, actually. The doctor I saw on Friday, she was like a women's health GP, but she was amazing. I've never met her before, but she was really nice in terms of listening to me. But I think it's because I went in there and I was like, this is this, this is this, this is this, I've tried this, I've done this, I've done this. So it was very much like she was like, right, okay,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Yeah. You went in with your own sense of authority,
Yeah,
didn't you? And that's
yeah.
what you're talking about when you do these videos and you try and help women with how it shouldn't be your job, but actually if you want a really good GP appointment,
Yeah.
this is how you do it. You
Yeah.
go in with a journal of everything.
Yeah.
You tell them exactly what you've had done. You tell them what you want from the appointment, and you have to make it so structured and almost
Exactly.
feels like a, I don't know, business meeting. It's
Yeah,
like
it's like a
bam,
job
bam, bam, bam,
interview.
bam.
Honestly, it's just mad. And I've had some really horrible appointments with doctors just going, checking their time. They're just checking their time. And I do sit there and I go, look, I know there's 1,001 patients in that waiting room you need to see, and I respect that so much. I said, but when you're literally sat in front of a doctor and you're crying because you're like, I need some help, I completely respect that sometimes they don't know what to do. But like you said, they've got a duty of care to do something, to say something, like,
or just have some humanity. I don't know.
exactly.
Don't know
Yeah.
about, maybe like you've mentioned a little bit about the approach or the attitude
Yeah.
sometimes towards
Yeah.
you. But I know with myself and other people that I've spoken to, for me, I mean, I'm not a medical practitioner. I'm never going to be a doctor. I'm never ever going to understand what it's like to work in the NHS
Yeah.
or work as a GP, and I am never going to pretend that I have any idea, because I
Yeah.
don't. So I can only imagine how easy it is under the pressures and the constraints for the kind of compassion, empathy, softer, humane approach to get shoved to the side sometimes.
To get blurred. Yeah.
I cannot understand how you could ever
Yeah.
allow like cruelness. Just some of the things that have been said or the approach to people, just like the stories that I've heard and even my own experiences, I just think I personally can't excuse fullness or being mean or rude or deliberately being misogynistic or anything like that. I just can't understand it.
Yeah. I know, and I think, and that's, as I was getting into the journey even more, I was like, oh my God, women's health is a minefield. And I was like, I can't actually believe what is going on in this space and how people are getting treated. So at that point, I looked at my boyfriend, I went, I can't stop doing this. I said, I can't. I said, because not only is it for me, but it's for all those other people that are sat at home with no one to talk to, thinking, what's going on in my body, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, for me, it was just like, if one person watched that video, well, that's one, you know, more person that's got some help or some understanding or whatever, you know.
Yeah, someone's life you could have changed, and definitely will have changed from looking at all the work you do.
Yeah.
So if for where you are right now today, you're waiting for another surgery, then is that where you are in your journey?
Yes, I'm waiting for a surgery with an excision specialist. So again, I know now I will not be accepting another surgery from a regular gynae and someone who is not a specialist in excision surgery. So I'm very much aware now of what I want going into my next surgery, and I don't think I'll be accepting it if it's not the way I want it.
Yes.
Some people think that's a weird approach. People are like, oh, you know, you should be grateful. And I'm thinking, you don't understand how surgery can make things worse for women sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
And
it's
again,
not about gratefulness. It's about having the right expert. You wouldn't have someone, I'm trying to think of an example now. You wouldn't have a heart specialist going into oncology and treating cancer patients.
Yeah.
Like, and they're really qualified. They're very expert in what they do. They're incredibly intelligent and talented individuals. But if you are specializing in hearts and you then go over and try and treat someone with cancer, you're not going to know what you need to know. It's the same thing.
Yeah. And like, that's what I always say. And it's even little things like, I didn't know, again, something that might sound silly to some people, but like scar tissue from surgery, that can cause pain. It can be sticky. It can stick to things. I didn't know that. Yeah. So when I was so the specialist did like an internal examination and she said she could feel maybe like scar tissue that could be causing the pain. Okay. But again, I didn't know that. So I was sitting there thinking, right, so I've had this surgery to try and stop the pain, but then the surgery itself can cause you more pain. I was like, what on earth? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I was just, what is going on? Yeah. Like, so,
when you're in it, like we are, for years, every single day, because you're working in it as well as experiencing it, you almost forget that when you say it to like a complete layman for the first time,
I know.
It's like, I'm sorry, I feel like you're speaking another language. What on earth are you talking about? Yeah. Because it's mind-blowing, isn't it?
I say to people sometimes, like, again, especially friends and family, like, I am lucky I do have the right people around me now, and they are very supportive. But like when I started the journey, I didn't. And there was people going like, well, what do you mean they're not doing anything? Surely they've got to do something. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Or like when I had my surgery, they're like, so does that mean you're fixed now? Oh. And it's just like, you know, when you just don't even know what to say, like you just don't even know how to respond. So sometimes I'll just be like, oh, it's fine, or nothing, or I'll just say something that's not true, because I go like, well, even if I told you the truth, you're not going to know what I'm talking about. So it's easier just to say, oh, it's all fine. Yeah. Don't worry.
Yeah. It's why, like you said, that inner circle realistically is probably just absolutely tiny. Like my inner circle is like the people that get it really get it. Yeah. And they're amazing. And I am so lucky to have them, and they make the hugest difference. But outside of that, it's almost sometimes like, oh, it actually might be like a full-time job actually to explain everything to you, and I don't think I've got the emotional mental capacity to do that. So I totally get that. It's like, no, I'm fine, I'm getting on, I'm doing okay. Yeah, because it's just easier, isn't it? So in terms of the work you do, because obviously what's probably amazing for the people that follow you, and obviously everyone listening here, is the fact that you've had so much of your story already, so a lot to talk about and kind of reflect on, but you're still very much in it, like you're in the midst of 100%. Everything 100%. Yeah. So the work that you do, you've built a gorgeous following, you've got an amazing community. I'd really love to know what your experience is like, because you've been very open as well. I've seen some of the posts you've done about some of the horrendous things that people say online opinions that you get. And so how do you find that world? How do you find doing the advocacy on social media? Tell me a little bit about that.
So I have a love-hate relationship with it. So I only have just started experiencing hate and negativity. It's been very much a new thing. So I have always had, again, 91% of people that follow me is women, right? So for me, I'm like, that is my little girly pop safe space, you know, I'm fine with that. Yeah. But as you grow and as you get bigger, things get pushed out to another audience. Yes. And sometimes that audience aren't very kind. And for me, I knew that, but when I got it on the level that I did, I was like, whoa. I was like, this is insane. You know, like I posted a video about, it was not really anything to do with endometriosis. It was just, I got catcalled in a train station. And I basically just said, when a woman gets catcalled, men just act like they're just being nice and it's a fine thing to do. So I was basically just calling them out on that, saying like, that's not fair. And within like 2 hours, it was like 6,000 comments from men calling me fat, a pig, horrendous, all different kinds of names that I can't obviously say here. But, you know, it was just like, and I was out with my friend. I was doing a content shoot for something in London, and I opened my phone and I was like, it was blowing up. Like, and it's like 600,000 views, all these negative, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And it's because that hit the Male For You page. I don't know why. I have no idea how it happened.
No.
And none of the endo girls even seen it until the evening. And when they did, they was all like, what's this? What's going on?
Oh my God.
And from that, it's just continued. So it's like now for me, it was one of those where it did get to me to start with, because I was like, I don't understand why people are picking at my appearance, my weight. I said, I don't really understand that. Like, but then I do understand it, because that's the easiest thing for people to rip apart. You know, people can't rip apart my integrity, my manners, who I am, what I do for people. But it's easy for a man to feel insecure online and say, well, she's fat.
Yeah.
You know, if that makes him feel better, fine, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. Like, eventually I realised, I was like, when you start getting that resistance, you start getting that hate, that's normally because you're doing something that you need to be doing, and you're having a conversation that needs to be had, and that makes people feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
So for me, I'm just like, well, if anything, it just motivates me even more. So yeah, so I love it in terms of, I really do think I have got a really nice community. Like, the girls that are in my space, they're incredible, and they are friends to me now. And you know, obviously, like, I'm doing events and all that kind of stuff, and it's just such a special moment. So for me, that always outweighs everything else anyway, because the people that are commenting hate, they're not, I don't care about their opinion. They're not something that I worry about. But if it was the girls that were saying something, I'd be like, oh my God, we need to sort this out. Let's go for a cup of tea and fix this.
Yeah.
You know,
because you respect them, you care about their opinion, they are important to you for what the work you do, and also just because you care about them. I mean, it's beyond awful. I was talking to Jen Moore, and she was talking about when she posted about her hysterectomy party and her journey, and she just put a really nothing video on. You know, can't believe it would offend anyone, and the abuse that she got and the threats that she got from
it's insane,
from both sides, and how kind of open people are now, with open profiles displaying very clearly who they are and their family or friends or what they do for work. It just,
it happened on LinkedIn to me.
LinkedIn.
So LinkedIn, again, was a whole different ballgame for me. So I posted something about paid menstrual leave, and I basically said why I think it's important. This post blew up, and it was like 50% of hate, 50% of good. But some of these hate comments was from like finance men on LinkedIn, but they had their public profile and their email address, and this man was commenting like, you're a profit advocate, no one's going to listen to you, and it was just like, I was looking at his company and I'm just like, as if people are just so bold in saying these things.
What? And
the worst thing was, some of these, like, you know, like the headlines in the bio and stuff, and they're like, we work for like equality and diversity, and I'm like sitting there going, really? That's interesting.
The irony. I mean,
I know.
Like, I know, obviously, there's elements of that which obviously are lighthearted, because it just kind of, it shocks you. It's a bit like, how dumb do you have to be? The topic itself is totally wrong, and there's so much wrong with it. But like, LinkedIn, really, like, do you not even have the intelligence or the common sense to be like, you know what, maybe my professional profile, which is connected to my career and my source of income and probably how I keep a roof over my head, isn't the platform to use to go and spout hate at people? Like,
but that's the thing. I think I've spent time, again, in that mindset, trying to understand people's rationale. You know, for instance, from that video, I was getting death threats, rape threats, all different kinds of stuff. You know, and even like, you know, my family was seeing that, my sister was seeing that, my friends were seeing it, and there was just like, Laura, we can't work out why this video has sparked that. And I said, but this is what happens though when you are a little bit controversial, or you say something that it shouldn't be controversial to start with. You know, women should be able to talk about anything they want to talk about. And for me, you know, I had a lot of girls message me and go, for your benefit, delete this video. And I was like, why should I? No.
Such a good question. Because
No.
actually, that is something that popped into my head. I was
Yeah.
going to say to you, like, oh, did you end up deleting it?
No, God, no.
But no, and you're so right.
Yeah.
Why should you have to?
I've
That
got nothing
almost
to be
proves
embarrassed
the
about.
entire point of
Yeah.
the video you were making.
Exactly, and this is what I was saying. And even now, it just proves what I say about deep-rooted misogyny in society and how men behave. And like I said the other day, it's not all men. I'm aware of that. And I made a video because people think like feminism is hating men, but it's not. Like I have like the most respectful boyfriend ever. He's amazing. But if I hated men, I wouldn't be with him, would I? You know.
Exactly.
But it's just insecurities, I think, in society. And when they see a powerful woman or they see someone that's speaking up for people that are trying to find their voice, for some reason they want to attack that and they want to ruin it.
Well, I think it makes them feel threatened,
100%,
doesn't it? I
yeah.
think they often say that in like, if you go almost into the psychology of it, not that you can rationalize, like you said, this behavior, but it's almost like anything or anyone that almost holds up a mirror to somebody else and reflects something back to them that they really don't want to tackle, they don't want to acknowledge, they don't feel comfortable talking about. It can ignite either like a predator or a prey response. You either go out on the attack or you kind of become a shrinking violet and you probably go inside yourself and internalize it a little bit. Okay, well, that's enough of the nasty side of social media. You've mentioned, and I'm glad you brought it up, your gorgeous events, because that's a lovely side of social media, because I've seen these events and they look beautiful. So tell me about those.
So I set up your endo event. So when I was like going through just this whole journey, so many people was just saying to me like, Laura, I'd love to meet you. I'd love to like, I don't know, like have a support group, or is there anything around you, or is there anything we can do? And there was so many people saying this like on and off and messaging me. And it's before I was going to Australia, I just like put a video out and I just said, if I was to start an event, if I just put on an event, who would come? And oh my God, like there was just like thousands of comments and I was like, whoa. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to do it. Bearing in mind, I had no experience in that. Like I had no idea what I was doing. So I was just like, right, I went into research mode and logistics and I just put on this event in April and it was in this little community centre in Worcester. And we had like 45 women like turn up and it was incredible. It was amazing. And from that event, you know, people then started sharing their journey on TikTok. They made a TikTok account just because of that. And they just started sharing their experience. And I remember after the event, I got home and then just seeing everyone like unboxing their gift bags and talking about the event that they come to and what they got from it. I literally was just crying on the sofa for about 4 hours. And I was just like, I can't believe like that's something I've been able to do. Like
you created that.
I was just like, that's insane. And then for me, I was sitting there thinking, but it's not just helping them, it's helping me. Because I'd never been in a room full of that many people with the same condition before, for one. And I was like, wow, this is powerful. This is overwhelming. But I was like, we hold so much power in here. And that's the thing. And then from there, everyone was like, are you doing more? Are you doing more? And then all of a sudden, it just got bigger, turned into a whole thing. Did another one. We're doing one in Birmingham, and we're doing one in Manchester, Bristol, Cardiff, Gloucester. And I was like, whoa. So yeah, it's just gone crazy. But it's obviously there's a need for it.
Yeah.
So I've said I will continue to do them as long as there's a need for it, you know. And now I've just become this businesswoman overnight, essentially.
Yeah, you become this
teaching
amazing
myself everything on YouTube.
Event planner.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I know. And there's so many people that have got involved, so many brands, like brands that I love and work with, like on my own journey, and then they've wanted to get involved. And it's like a full, like, you know, 360 moment because it's so lovely, you know. It's just so nice that people want to get involved.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it's such a testament to you, Laura, as well. Like everything you stand for, your personality, all the hard work you've done, the way that you've just built something, obviously for yourself, but for so many people that are serving so many people. It's amazing. It's very inspirational.
Honestly, I love it. I just think it's great. I still can't quite get my head around it. Like I think I do struggle, like, because I just like, even like my latest one, just the fact that people are coming and they care about what I say. Because for me, I like, if anyone ever joins my live streams and stuff, like I'm literally just like, I flick from one thing to the other. I'm like, I get distracted really easily. I feel like I just waffle for hours. So sometimes I'm like, are people even like, is this useful? I don't know. Is this useful? But obviously people find it useful. But I think for me, it's just kind of just having that connection with somebody as well in that community. And that's what I like from it. You know, like I said, I've met people that I would consider my friends now.
Yeah.
You know, and I would have never met them if I didn't start sharing my experiences and my journey. So
yeah. It's amazing. And we're going to put all your details in the description and everywhere so people can find you and access you and hopefully go to one of these events if they're near where they are, which would be amazing. I have one final question for you, which is a podcast tradition.
Yep.
So if you can imagine that I'm not sat here and that a much younger version of Laura is sat here instead, I'd really love to know that if you could talk to her, if you could see her, what would you say to her?
So I would say to always trust your gut instinct.
Okay.
To never let anyone tell you that you're too loud or you're not good enough and it's all in your head. And whatever that little voice niggling at you in your head is saying for you to do, for you to push through, just to do it and just to not worry about what other people think.
Amazing. That is such good advice. And I think that goes far beyond endo and any
100%.
condition.
That's just
as
life
well.
advice.
100%. Always listen to that gut instinct.
Yeah.
It doesn't take you far wrong, does it?
No.
You've been amazing.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming on.
No problem.
I loved our girl chat this week. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, then don't forget to hit the follow button wherever you're listening. To find out more about us or today's guest, then head to the show notes. Until next time, I'm Alexandra, and remember, it's not just a period.